square. Some of the buildings here. People coming up from the BART. Trolleys going by. Kind of cool. That's where the cable car turnaround is when it comes up that way. Catch a cable car. We're going to go out to the wharf and Pier 33 and catch a ferry over to see Alcatraz. So check it out. Old-fashioned people power. Heading down to Pier 33 to catch the ferry over to Alcatraz. Some of the sights. Captain Hook with the hook missing.
Oh yeah, someone got his hook.
Yeah, they de-hooked him. It's more than just a Bloody Mary, it's breakfast.
No kidding.
God, we got green bean, a pickle, the lime lemon, celery, shish kebab on there.
Yes.
Oh yeah. It's raining out, so we decided to duck in and take a break before we get down to the wharf, so we might have to have some breakfast. If the words get a little slurred, we apologize in advance. Okay, we're officially at the Fisherman's Wharf. Cable car going by. There we are, baby. You know what kind of trees these are?
Dead.
They're way ugly. Ugly. Plenty of things going on.
Probably life.
Yep, rain's ended. Everybody's getting out. We're gonna go checking it out. Alcatraz tickets. Heading Alcatraz.
Both on ferries and while on Alcatraz. Do not accept packages, parcels, and bags from strangers. We hope you enjoy your cruise and thank you for sailing with Alcatraz Cruises. The seat is boarded on a first-come, first-served basis, with wheelchair users boarding first.
Bay Bridge.
Boats leave Alcatraz approximately every half hour, and you may return on any boat you wish. Specific boat departure
Right
times
across
are
the
posted
bay
on
to Alcatraz.
app.
Awesome day. It's a 13-story hike from the bottom to the top, to the rock.
So what are you out here for? Murder? Kidnapping? Bodily harm? Bootlegging? Rum running? Whatever. You're out here for whatever. That's the worst crime that you can have is whatever. So you folks that are on the boat up on top, you need to get off that boat. Anybody have any idea?
None.
None. That's exactly right. Well, that's not quite true. And you'll find that out as you get up on top and see if your mind is adjusted. But the greatest thing that ever happened for the escapes from Alcatraz was the invention of the rubber glove. And the invention of the rubber glove was important because you could use this as an inflatable kind of a raft. You would take this, you'd blow it up, You'd tie it up and you'd stick it under your jacket, and you'd sail down to San Francisco if you had about 35 of these babies. So that was the greatest invention. 14 escapes out of here. Last guys that escaped out of here were the Morris and Anglin brothers. They haven't been seen. They think they were killed, but who knows? And you'll learn a lot about that when you get up on the top. Anything else?
On the rock. And here's a picture of the guard tower, one of the guard towers, right outside. We're going to take the 13-story hike up the side of the hill and see what we can see. And barracky and it's just like,
it's a better time if you go when the weather's
man, if they were marching you in here to be detained,
Christ, yeah, you just feel like
your world came to an end.
there's no hope. Yeah. Kind of like Devil's Island or something.
Yeah, you ain't, escaping ain't the issue, just surviving this thing.
Yeah.
Wow, it just kind of goes and goes. Surrounded on water by all sides. And that bay is freezing cold.
And big.
Big, freezing, undertows, currents.
Yep.
Warehouse and power plant. The refurbishing part of Alcatraz.
Everybody's fire hydrant's gonna be around top rooftop.
Yeah.
I love audio tours. I'll just get a
Thank you for joining us on our tour of the Alcatraz cell house. You should now be standing under the sign that says "Tour begins here." On your right, look for a photo panel entitled "Tour Narrators." Walk over to it.
Walk, do not run when moving from one place to another.
I'm Pat Mahoney, former Alcatraz correctional officer, and I'll be your guide. I served 7 years on the Rock. These first photos introduce some of my fellow officers.
I am Philip Bergen, Captain of the Guards, United States Penitentiary, Alcatraz, California.
Well, my name is George DeVincenzi. I used to play checkers with Robert Stroud. I don't think I ever beat him.
My name is Ronald Battles. I asked whether they hired blacks out there. You know how it was in the 50s.
Continue to the left, to the next photo panel. These are some of the prisoners whose voices you'll hear.
Yeah, my name is Leon Whitey Thompson. My number was 1465. I was a man that had total hatred in them days. I hated anything that walked or crawled on this earth. I was a man who was dead inside. You couldn't hurt me no more, see?
I'm John Banner. My Alcatraz number was 1133. I'm a thief, you know. I ended up about number 17 or something like that on the most wanted.
You were a number, you weren't a name. I wasn't Jim Crow, and hell, I was number 586. Everybody wants to be an individual. They want to be a human. And you weren't at the Rock.
My name is Darwin Kuhn, number 1422. Figured I'm never going to get out. Yeah, I'm going to sit right here until I die.
Now, continue to your left. Up ahead, you'll see an open gate on your right. This was called the Cutoff. Walk through the Cutoff. The Alcatraz cell house opened as a federal prison in 1934. Within these walls lived the country's toughest, most dangerous, and most famous prisoners. As soon as you exit the Cutoff, Immediately turn right onto the next corridor. It's called Broadway. Walk slowly along the line of cells on the right side. Each cell has a number above the cell door. On your right, find cell number 113. Stop and look inside. Broadway was the first stop for arriving prisoners.
We went right down Broadway, in our birthday suits. And all the guys, are howling.
Well, here's a typical Alcatraz cell. Every one of them in this cell house is exactly alike.
I had a metal tabletop and a little chair there, and that was about it. So pretty barren.
5 feet wide, 9 feet long, and 7 feet high. That's what I call a little box.
No decorations allowed, anything. Couldn't paste anything on a wall.
Continue to the next cell. Waiting on the bed for each new prisoner was a copy of the official rules and regulations.
This is the rules of the cell house. Your cell is subject to search at any time.
The cell had to be folded up and put on your shelf. Your toothbrush, and they used to give us tooth powder in little green containers.
Now, continue ahead to the next cell.
I guess like a cocktail skills in a matchbox.
You may smoke in your cell in the
We
library.
were issued a pack of wings on a Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday. Every inmate, whether he smoked or not.
Continue to the next cell.
Sweep your cell and place some trash in the trash
I knew
bin.
every mark, everything in that cell. And pretty soon that cell became like a part of me, or I became a part of the cell.
Look ahead to the far end of Broadway. You should see a clock on the wall. Walk towards it.
Alcatraz is always classed as the end of the line, the point of no return. It was like going into the ground. When you're buried, you're gone forever.
Beneath it is the area prisoners call Times Square. When you get to Times Square, turn left. Look over towards the right and find the large photo of the prison recreation yard. Walk over to it.
This is the rules of the cell house. Your cell is subject to search at any time.
Prisoners had a decision to make, whether to obey the rules or not, to do good time or bad time. That decision affected their lives dramatically.
An inmate is given housing, good food, medical attention, and all the necessities of life.
Everything else was a privilege. Time to exercise outside, getting books and mail, all had to be earned. One of their favorite privileges was the recreation yard.
The most pleasant place, I believe, on Alcatraz, and the most appreciated. The handball court, the horseshoe court.
Prisoners also played bridge out in the yard. They used dominoes instead of cards.
They came out with a system called Auto Bridge. You played it all by yourself. Guys got so wound up in this bridge thing that they ate and slept it. They'd go out there and it would be so cold that you didn't think you could stay out there. Yet they'd stay out there for 3 hours and play bridge. And if you're occupied with bridge and you're studying bridge, you're not thinking about going over the wall.
Prisoners who chose not to behave ended up in a harsher place, isolation. You should be facing the photo panel. Move a few steps into the room and find a place to stand. Look up at the 3 tiers of cells. Unruly or violent prisoners were sent here. They stayed in their cells 24 hours a day. Typically, they were only allowed out once a week for a shower and exercise.
Now in this cell block, we have 42 of the least popular cells in Alcatraz. Although by far they are the best, the roomiest, and the nicest state-of-the-art cells that were available in this prison.
It was cold, It was damp. The wind used to just blow through there. You could hear it. At night you could hear it whistling through the windows.
One of the more infamous prisoners to live here in D Block was convicted killer Robert Stroud, the so-called Birdman.
And almost immediately upon his arrival at Alcatraz, he was relegated to the treatment unit. And he didn't bring his birds along with him, which made him very unhappy, but he brought all his bad habits with him, which made us unhappy. And there he remained for several years, being obnoxious and noisy and agitating and busily writing, fluent in 3 languages, a mathematical expert, brilliant man.
Psychopath.
Suicidal, homicidal maniac.
Now, turn to face the window. Walk over to the photo panel on the wall. You'll see a photo of Robert Stroud. Alongside Stroud, you'll see some other well-known prisoners. Alcatraz was built for men like these.
Alvin Karpus, you gotta watch out for him. Former public enemy #1.
Creepy Karpus. When you see Creepy, you wouldn't have to be told he was creepy because he walked on his toes.
He had Kelly.
Nice fella, never give you any troubles at all. Very accommodating, polite.
Mickey Cohen, Frankie Garbo.
And Capone.
Ain't a fool with Capone. Ain't a fool with Capone, see? He was a street fighter. He was a big man. He was in good shape. The only thing, his brain was going. He had syphilis. Well, eventually they drove him crazy.
Now, turn back to the cells. Walk over to the cells on the far right, the solid green doors. This was solitary confinement, the whole, cells 9 through 14.
When the cell was occupied, the regulations required that the light be on.
Well, we kept the lights off when they were in there. They were in the dark.
You may enter one of the cells if you wish.
Well, when I go in the hole, what I used to do is I'd tear a button off my coveralls, I'd flip it up in the air, then I'd turn around in circles, then I'd get down on my hands and knees and I'd hunt for that button. And when I found the button, I'd stand up, I'd do it again.
But if you would close your eyes, like right now, close your eyes and seal your eyes up with your hand, with a little concentration, you can see a light. Pretty soon that light will get brighter, and you gotta concentrate on this. And after a while, not a short while, this takes time and practice, but pretty soon you can almost put your own TV there, and you can see things, and you can go on trips, and this is what I did.
Walk through the nearest doorway marked library. Continue into the large open area. This was the prison library.
You put your request on a library card. If the book was available, they'd bring it and put it in the bars for you.
Prisoners with reading privileges could subscribe to approved magazines.
And if it had some story by some convict out of Nebraska or something that was cut out, never mind that you might have been reading a serial and it was on the back of one of them pages.
Prisoners who behaved could also take correspondence courses. Now, let's continue. Walk out of the library, immediately turn left. Walk toward the recreation yard doorway, up ahead. Stay along the left wall of the corridor. You're now on Seedy Street.
C and D block. They call it Seedy Street, or C and D.
Look for a large photo panel along the left wall. Walk toward the recreation yard doorway, up ahead. In May of 1946, an inmate named Bernie Coy, along with 5 accomplices, decided they would escape to freedom.
Alcatraz was built to keep every inmate directly under a gun.
You should now be at the photo panel. This panel tells the story of the bloodiest escape attempt in Alcatraz history. Find the pictures of the escapees and look at the bar spreader. We'll hear more about these in a moment. Now turn right and continue slowly down the corridor. Directly ahead of you and up above is a two-story walkway covered with bars. This is the gun gallery.
Well, you had a man on a catwalk, gun gallery, and he carried a rifle and a pistol.
Stop when you get near the end of the row of cells. On Alcatraz, guns were never carried down here on the floor, only up in these galleries.
Anyway, this gun gallery was more or less overseeing the whole prison.
Notice the keys hanging from a hook attached to the gun gallery.
You may wonder what that is. Well, that hook was for the specific purpose of allowing the officer on the floor to send his keys up to the gallery for safekeeping.
You should be at the end of the cell block. We'll be standing here a moment. To escape, Bernie Coy knew he needed the keys in the gun gallery. He arranged for an accomplice in D block to distract the officer in the gun gallery, while he overpowered the officer here on the floor. Next, to enter the gun gallery, Coy used his homemade bar spreader.
He climbed the face of the West Gun Gallery with his homemade bar spreader hanging around his neck. See there at the top of the bars, where they curve back towards the back wall? Well, that's where he spread the bars apart, wide enough so that he could squeeze into the gallery.
Coy surprised the gallery officer and knocked him out. He grabbed his gun and keys and dropped them to his accomplices on the floor. Look below the gun gallery to the recreation yard door. This was the door they hoped to open, but none of the keys worked.
You sure you don't know what key opens this control box?
The last thing I heard was, this is the right key, but it won't open the door.
Outside the cell house, other officers on duty were unaware of what was happening.
The phone started ringing. They weren't getting any answers.
Then, one by one, 8 guards walked into the cell house to be confronted by armed convicts.
More people kept coming in. They kept catching more people.
Please find cells number 402 and 403. Walk over to them. 8 officers were captured and locked up in these cells. Escape was now impossible. The prisoners' frustrations turned to rage. Joe Kritzer pointed his gun at the officers trapped in these cells.
Wild man Sam Shockley incited Kretzer to kill the captive guards. He shot them in cold blood, one by one, poking his gun between the bars of the cell front.
And then right after that, the siren went off, and they were dead.
Now continue back up the aisle towards the library. Stop at the cutoff across from the library. It is on your left. What happened next became known as the Battle of Alcatraz.
What the hell they have to live for? They were going to die. They were going to die one way or the other.
For 2 days, the Marines and correctional officers bombarded the cell house from island slopes and rooftops. You should now be at the cutoff, across from the library. Glance into the cutoff and look at the floor. Those pockmarks were made by the exploding grenades that were dropped by the Marines through holes in the roof of the cell house. On the wall above them, you'll see a metal grate.
Then the next morning, things had quieted down, and we decided that the escapees were dead. We found them there in the utility quarter. They were firing their guns as they died.
At the battle's end, 2 officers and 3 prisoners lay dead, and 2 other prisoners were later executed for their role in the escape attempt. Step back out of the cutoff and onto CD Street. Continue walking slowly past the library along the corridor. Although calm was restored for San Franciscans, the Battle of Alcatraz was a stark reminder of the danger of having a maximum security prison on their doorstep. Continue to the end of Seedy Street. When you get there, turn left. Look for 4 small windows in the wall on the right. They're marked Visitation. The prisoners called this Pekin Place.
When they'd written me that letter and said, you know, you're dead, don't ever come back, we've told your sister you're dead, the whole bit. You know, I'd been there at the Rock 7.5 years. The guard came up and cracked my door open and said, Quillen? And I said, yeah. Or said 586, and I said, yeah. You got a visitor. And I told him, I said, you're full of crap. He said, you got a damn visitor. Go down to the visiting office.
Approach the visitors' windows.
I thought, hell, I'll see some good-looking chick at least, if nothing else, you know. And I walked up there, and here's this good-looking girl.
I was nervous, didn't know what to expect.
I knew who she was when I got a real good look at her, and when she said Jimmy, which was what she always called me, hell, I knew it was my sis.
Once I saw Jimmy, it was, you know, he didn't look different, and he was overwhelmed, and...
On the right, look for an open gate with a sign that reads, Administration Wing. Walk through this door. Prisoners rarely saw the world behind this door. We're now entering officers' country. Walk along the left side of the corridor. We're passing the prison control room on your right, but keep walking. We'll stop here again later. Turn left into the first doorway up ahead. Officers reported for duty in this room. This is where the business of running the prison took place. They said, okay, fall in, step up to the mannequin in the glass case. This is a typical Alcatraz officer's uniform.
Uniform was prison gray with a hat.
I wore a hat all the time.
Regular double-breasted uniform.
And they used to call you red ties because everybody in the place had this red tie on.
Even supplied your shoes and your socks. Didn't look like a policeman, you didn't look like a social worker.
The only thing that you had when you went in the cell house was a whistle.
I carried a sap. We weren't supposed to, but many of us did.
Unlike the prisoners, officers could leave the prison. Many officers lived right here on the island. Walk over to the large window and take a look out.
When you got done work, you just run down, catch the next boat, and you're in San Francisco in 12 minutes. And you can stay, go to a movie, have dinner, catch the last boat back.
Just to the left of the plaza is what remains of the warden's house. Officers' housing was just down over the hill.
Well, my name is William Long. We had quite a little community there on Alcatraz.
That included wives and children.
My mother was putting me to bed one night, and I could hear the prisoners, they were yelling and just raising a ruckus, and I said, what is that noise? And she said, oh, just the prisoners letting off steam. I'm Jolene Babiak, and I lived on Alcatraz as a child.
We all worked together. We all played together. We had 2 bowling alleys where we had bowling leagues.
We never locked our doors or anything on the island. Never.
We had a little grocery store. It was like living in a very small town.
Now continue through the nearest open doorway. Keep walking through the next small room. The larger room up ahead is the warden's office.
I never did see what it looked like inside the warden's office. The only time I ever found out what it would look like is when I come back as a tourist.
Alcatraz had 4 wardens over its 29-year span. Walk over to their photos. The prison opened in 1934 under the strict discipline of Warden James Johnston.
They call him Saltwater Johnson, see? Things start to change when the new warden come in. They open up a little more.
Move to the next photo.
I got Warden Ed Swoop. Nobody wanted to tangle with Swoop. The convicts called him the devil.
Next was Warden Paul Madigan.
And his nickname was Promising Paul. He'd promise you everything and never give you nothing.
The last warden was Olin Blackwell. He was in charge when the prison closed.
Oh, Mr. Blackwell. Mr. Blackwell was a character. He was a Texan and a really nice guy.
We're We're heading for what the inmates call Michigan Avenue. When you get there, cross over to the cells on your right. Walk to the large photo panel up ahead. Earlier, on the morning of June the 12th, 1962, Officer Bill Long had been in charge of the first count of the day.
And at the sound of the bell, the inmates are supposed to be dressed and up, standing in front of their doors for count. Bill, there's a guy up here, I can't get up. Well, it's the sergeant says, I'll get him up.
Look across the aisle for cell number 138.
I'll wake him up.
Walk over to it and look inside.
Hey.
And he was laying in there, so I reached in through the bars and I hit the pillow. And Lord knows what happened. The head fell off on the floor. The guy said that I shot back about 6 feet. Here's his face, here's his head, hair on his head and everything. One of the other officers there said, here's another one, Bill, right here. There's one up here, Bill. And I said, don't touch him, don't touch it. A horror movie. And I was right in the middle of it.
You should be facing the cells. Continue to your left to cells number 150 and 152. Prisoners Frank Lee Morris and two brothers John and Clarence England had escaped the night before. They made dummy heads to fool the officers. Morris was the brains. The England brothers, they were just swamp rats out of Florida. According to the reports, the men enlarged the vent openings in the back of their cells with stolen spoons.
I'll give you a ton of spoons, and I want to see how long it'll take you to go through one of them walls there. Them walls may be old, but let me tell you, you're not going through them cells with them spoons.
The question has never been answered. Did they make it to freedom?
My theory is that they drowned.
They went to South America, because I know they were all studying Spanish.
The men have never been found. Face the utility corridor. To your left is Broadway. Continue around the corner and back onto Broadway. Directly ahead of you is the dining hall. Step through the doorway and move toward the bars at the back of the dining hall. 3 times a day, all the men in general population gathered here for 20-minute meals. Imagine 200 plus men, each armed with a knife, fork, and spoon. This was potentially the most dangerous room in the cell house.
And if you notice up on the ceiling there, you see these canisters up there dotted around. That's tear gas. And we nicknamed the dining room the gas chamber. It so happened during the history of Alcatraz, they never did trip the button. If they did trip it, they would have made a fatal mistake because them 2 guards in there and the lieutenant would never have gotten out of there alive. And that was the pop slap I heard.
Feel free to sit on one of the benches.
Alcatraz, I don't think you ever heard anybody say anything disparaging about the meals.
It was a strict requirement of the Bureau of Prisons that the food not only be palatable and healthy, but attractively served.
At the end of 3 decades, over 1,500 men had served time on the rock. By then, Alcatraz had served its own time. After years of harsh wind and weather, the buildings were badly deteriorated. The isolated island was too expensive to run. And now in the 1960s, prison reformers preached rehabilitation instead of punishment. Early in 1963, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy ordered Alcatraz closed.